What's up guys? Welcome to this video. Getting rich is actually pretty easy if you just get this one thing right. What I'm gonna go over in this video is exactly what I think is actually like the number one most fundamental variable to anyone making a lot of money in business. And it doesn't really matter whether you run an agency, a coaching business, maybe you even have like an e-commerce store or anything into that direction. Although on this channel, I only really talk about agencies and those types of businesses, the lesson that I want to go over in today's video actually applies to pretty much any business. And this lesson is the lesson that I got and derived from, first of all, finding some success myself so far in my journey, then also having clients find success, and then also my network. I have met a lot of people that are at my level, and I've met a solid amount of people that are way above my level and actually scaled companies to 8 and close to 9 figures in valuation. And so I have some insight into what variables actually contribute to the success of a business. And in this video, I want to go over the number one variable that, in my opinion, is so fundamental to the amount of money you make that you can literally do nothing else right, but just get this one thing right and do it well. And you'll probably end up being pretty successful if you just stick with it long term. I had a conversation today with a client of mine, and we were talking about the paid ads he was running on Meta. We were going over a bunch of different topics. Essentially, he was in a situation where he was a bit scared to spend more money on ads, and that's why we talked about it. And I went through a couple of things with him, and I also gave him this lesson on the call. And although it's something that's so obvious, I just see 99% of especially starting out entrepreneurs mess this up and not get this right and not understand this. And again, it's a super fundamental lesson, and there's nothing about it that's, a crazy new system. So like if you clicked on this video and you expected to get like a magic wand that makes your business a shitload of money out of nothing, then this is the wrong video for you. I'm only giving away hard lessons, hard tactics, and hard takeaways that I've had from my businesses in my journey and that I've seen from my clients and the people around me. And so if you came here because you expected a magic wand to suddenly turn around your business, then this is not the video for you. But this one variable that I'm going to talk about is such a fundamental factor to people's success. And I don't believe people understand how important it actually is, which is why I'm making this video. Again, it doesn't matter whether you run an agency, whether you run a coaching business. It really doesn't matter. It applies to every single business vertical. And it also doesn't matter how much money you're making currently. It doesn't matter whether you're making 10K a month. It doesn't matter whether you're making $1 million a month or 10 million a month. No matter at what stage you're in business, this applies. And I actually believe that this was one of the main variables that brought me success pretty early on when I was first starting out with my first agency, because the other variables in this equation of, making money, I don't think I was that good at them. I wasn't necessarily working that hard. I wasn't necessarily the smartest person. I didn't have access to like a lot of knowledge. I didn't have any network really. I only built it up over time now. I wasn't really consistent. I was pretty inconsistent. I was pretty lazy. And if you're thinking right now, so Elias, you're telling me that you weren't consistent, you didn't work hard, you weren't necessarily the smartest, you didn't have a network, and you still ended up, signing the first clients and getting the ball rolling and making money pretty quickly, just because of this one variable. If you're asking yourself that, that's exactly right. Like that's essentially how it worked out, which is why I'm making this video. My second ever agency, which I think I was 19 or 20 years old at that time when I was actually growing that particular company, scaled from 0 to 60,000 a month within about 2.5 months, like 7 weeks. 7 weeks it was actually, yeah. And that was 60,000 in cash profit. So it wasn't revenue, it wasn't, contractual deal size, it was actual cash profit, like after paying everything, cash profit. And the only reason as to why I was able to scale that company that fast is that one variable I'm going to speak about today. And most of the successful entrepreneurs I know, for example, One guy I know who recently built a software company from $0 to $40 million in valuation within 6 months. He's 24, I think. And then other people I know that do like $1 million a month with agencies and these things. All of these people have this one thing in common. They share this one variable. And a lot of them, don't get me wrong, also tick a lot of other boxes. Otherwise, they wouldn't make the money they're making. They're also working pretty hard. They're also pretty consistent with what they do. And they also, have a big vision, and they're smart, and they're learning every day, and they're consistent. Like, there's a lot of ties into, but I think this one variable I'm about to go over right now is like the number one thing that makes up their success. Okay. And so the one variable that I think is the most fundamental contributing factor to any business's success, the one variable that I believe makes or breaks people and businesses, and the one variable that makes all of these people that I just referred to a lot of money, and the one variable that I think I got right from the beginning, which is the reason as to why I am where I am today. This one thing is risk. And the interesting thing about that is that it's very simple to understand. Risk is important, right? The more risk you take, the more you can make. But, I believe that if you know something or if you learn something, but then you don't really apply it, then you really haven't learned anything. And most business owners, most agency owners, most coaching business owners, most business owners in general, most people, most humans on this planet do not take enough risk. And I'm specifically referring to people in very privileged situations. If you grew up in a first world country like Germany, Switzerland, Austria, UK, Spain, France, Italy, US, Canada, Australia, doesn't really matter, wherever you grew up, if you grew up in a first world country, in a middle class household, which is exactly where I grew up, then you have literally all the opportunities at hand. You can do anything you want with your life if you just are willing to pay the price for it. And so the reason as to why I think risk is so important, and we tend to not implement it and hence forget about it, is because it's uncomfortable. And obviously humans don't like being uncomfortable. But I think the reason as to why all of these businesses found so much success, and I found some solid success as well pretty early on when I was starting out, is because of risk. Because we were not afraid to take risks again and again and again and again. Because even when I started making money, I would deploy that money back into the business every time. And guess what? Most times I didn't get an ROI. Most times I didn't make more money than I spent. Most times I just wasted money. And because of that, I had two things happen. First of all, I consistently had the drive to get better every day, work on myself, work on the business, and improve things, because otherwise I would be pretty much fucked, because I'm spending all this money and I need to make it back somehow. So that was like one. But that's like the minor one. The bigger one is that the bigger the risk, the bigger the opportunity. I want to tie this back to the conversation I had with my client earlier that I was talking about. So he was running ads, and his ads were running on a 3 to 4x ROI on the front end, meaning he spent $100 and he made $300 to $400 on the front end without even any involvement from his side. Meaning he literally turned on the ad, he spent the money on it, and he got a 3 to 4x ROI without him messaging anyone, without him speaking to leads, without him taking sales calls. It's literally just people get on the ad, they click on the ad, they then get driven to a landing page and they buy, and that's it. And he had a 3 to 4x ROI on that. And he was spending like a low amount of money per day, and he told me he was gonna double it. And I told him, why don't you just 5 or 10x it? Like, why don't you just spend 5 to 10 times more money? And the only reason why he didn't do that is because he was afraid. He has the money to invest, he has the resources to sustain it, and he has a good ad set right now that's working well, and he's very profitable. And I told him, just spend way more. What's the worst case scenario that's going to happen? You lose a couple $100. And then I told him something that's super important for every single one of you to understand, okay? I told him, you are always talking to me about how you want to make a shitload of money and you want to make $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, $30,000 a month, 40, 50, 100K, a million a month. You're always talking about these numbers and you're telling me you want to do big things. So you want to make all this money and you're scared to lose $200. Don't you believe that in order for you to make 100K, you got to risk 20, 30K? Because that's how it works usually. And so the number one lesson I want you to take from this video, no matter what type of business you're running, let this be your reminder that the number one variable that gives you the most leverage in your business, that gives you the most leverage in your business, the number one variable that makes a large difference and can make you shitloads of money is risk and nothing else. And again, if you learn this now, or if I remind you about this now, and then you don't implement it, you haven't really learned. So I would recommend you go ahead and implement what I went over in this video. I truly believe this is the one thing that you have to get right if you want to scale fast and make a lot of money quick. Or you can't get rich quick, but like make a lot more money a lot faster. And that's the number one lesson that I got from my own journey, all of my clients, as well as all of the people that I know and work alongside and meet up with regularly. So that's it. I hope this was very valuable. If you did find value, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. And if you have literally any questions, put them down in the comment section right now.